The HomePod Mini just hit a milestone, and I'm not sure it's one that we should really be celebrating, but as of April 5th, 2026, the HomePod Mini is officially 2,000 plus days old. It has never once received a hardware update. That's nearly 5.5 years of the same Apple S5 chip, the same single driver, and the same hardware running in Apple stores right now that shipped back in the fall of 2020. So to put that in perspective, in those 2,000 days, Apple has released 4 generations of iPhones, 3 Apple Watch models, launched a brand new product in the Apple Vision Pro, and introduced an entirely new MacBook with the MacBook Neo, and redesigned the MacBook Air twice. But this little $99 speaker sitting on your nightstand, completely untouched. So let's take a look back at the HomePod Mini's journey, talk about why Apple has left it on the shelf for so long, but more importantly, break down what exactly is coming next, because there has been a lot of talk on the rumor front about a new HomePod Mini. Now, Apple unveiled the HomePod Mini at its iPhone 12 event back on October 13th, 2020. It was positioned as the smaller, more affordable alternative to the original full-sized HomePod, which, by the way, was already struggling and was later discontinued, only to be brought back. But it was out of the $349 price tag, so that's probably why it struggled quite a bit. At $99, the HomePod Mini was Apple's play to compete directly with the Amazon Echo and Google Nest audio systems. And it packed in a compact spherical design with 360-degree audio, a 4-microphone array for Siri, an Apple Watch S5 chip borrowed from the Apple Watch Series 5, and support for ultra-wideband via the U1 chip, which enabled that cool tap-to-handoff feature with your iPhone. Pre-orders went live November 6th in 2020, and the speaker shipped out on November 16th. And then nothing really happened on the hardware side. I mean, nothing, except for the fact that the biggest update came in November of 2021, so a year later, when Apple added new color options. You got blue, orange, and yellow alongside the existing white and space gray. Then in July 2024, Apple quietly swapped out the space gray for something that looks nearly identical and called it the Midnight Finish. But that is it. There has been no other hardware changes in the entire history, just color swaps. So as I mentioned, under the hood, still the same S5 chip, still 802.11n Wi-Fi, still Bluetooth 5.0, still the same single full-range driver with dual passive radiators. It still sounds really good for the size, and in today's world, it still sounds pretty good for the price point. But in a world where Apple Intelligence now powers iPhones, iPads, and Macs, the HomePod Mini is running on silicon from 2019, and it has no Apple Intelligence capability, and it really doesn't do much besides just kind of sit there and play music when you need it. So why has Apple let this product sit untouched for 2,000 days? Well, there could be a few reasons why. First off, the HomePod Mini still just kind of sells. Even without updates, it remains a popular smart speaker within the Apple ecosystem. At $99, it's kind of a nice impulse buy for people who are just there and see one and like, maybe I should add one. And for basic tasks, playing Apple Music, controlling some HomeKit accessories, setting some timers and calls, and so, I mean, it's fine. There hasn't been an overwhelming consumer pressure to update it, even though people in the tech community certainly have been asking for a new refresh for quite some time. Not entirely sure that the average consumer feels the same way. Second, and this is probably the biggest reason, is Siri. Apple has been completely reworking its voice assistant from the ground up, and according to Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, the new HomePod Mini, along with the new Apple TV and new full-size HomePod, have all been deliberately held back until the revamped Siri is ready to ship. Gurman has reported that the new HomePod Mini has actually been done and ready to launch since late last year. The hardware is just sitting there, but Apple made the strategic decision to wait because these products are fundamentally Siri devices, and Apple apparently doesn't want to launch new smart home products without the new version of Siri. It doesn't want to run the old version of Siri when a dramatically better one is supposedly right around the corner. Now, as we've touched on, that revamped Siri is expected to debut with iOS 27, which should be previewed at WWDC in June and released later to the public in September. Now, let's get into the good stuff. So here's what we know and what we think we know about the upcoming HomePod lineup. The most consistent rumor is a chip upgrade, obviously. The current S5 is ancient by tech standards, and the new model is expected to jump into at least an S9 chip or newer. That's a massive leap, potentially 4 or 5 generations plus of silicon improvement, which should dramatically improve responsiveness, on-device processing for Siri, and computational audio. Beyond the chip, the new HomePod Mini is also expected to feature Apple's N1 chip, which should bring Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6, and improved Thread networking for smart home control. There's also talk of the second-generation ultra-wideband chip for better spatial awareness features. On the design front, we haven't heard about a dramatic redesign, but there are rumors of improved sound quality and potentially a new red color option joining the lineup. The big question mark is Apple Intelligence support. The S9 chip is powerful, but it's not clear whether or not it should have the horsepower needed to run on-device Apple Intelligence features. The new Siri experience may rely on cloud processing for the heavier AI tasks, with the local chip handling basic commands and smart home control. So here's what might even be more exciting. During a live Q&A in late March, Mark Gurman explicitly confirmed that Apple is planning a new full-size HomePod to launch alongside the new updated HomePod Mini and Apple TV. The current full-size HomePod was last refreshed in January of 2023, and while specific upgrade details are thin, the new model should at minimum support the overhauled Siri experience. Rounding out the trio, the next Apple TV is rumored to pack an A17 Pro chip, the oldest chip that supports Apple Intelligence, along with the N1 connectivity that gave us everything that we already talked about. This could position the Apple TV as a true smart home hub with a meaningful on-device AI capabilities. There's also a practical signal worth mentioning. Inventory of the current HomePod Mini, full-size HomePod, and Apple TV is actually running low at retail stores worldwide. So some HomePod Mini configurations in markets like Canada aren't even available until as late as May 2026, which strongly suggests that Apple has stopped manufacturing the current gen. So when Apple stops making a product and supplies dries up, a replacement is usually imminent, or it's being discontinued, but I don't think that's the case. What's really interesting about all of this is what it says about Apple's smart home strategy going forward. For years, the HomePod lineup has felt like an afterthought, a product Apple made because it felt like it had to, not because it really had a clear vision, in my opinion. But holding back 3 finished products, the HomePod Mini, the full-size HomePod, and the Apple TV, all to launch together with the reimagined Siri, that could be something that's worth, a point of emphasis. Apple isn't just refreshing chips and colors. Hopefully this time they're launching an entire ecosystem. And also we have that smart home hub device with the screen that's also powered by the next generation of Siri. And so, there's kind of like a clearer picture painted for these products now in the lineup. If Apple gets Siri right this time, the 2,000-day wait for a new HomePod Mini might actually end up being potentially worth it if it can do more than what it can do now. If the audio is more improved. I mean, it's already pretty good for what it is. And if it's not redesigning the whole thing, I don't know how much better it can get, but computational audio does get better with each silicon in the generation. So there's a lot here that could happen. And I would love to hear from you in the comments down below. How do you feel? Are you somebody who just doesn't really care if the HomePod Mini gets updated? Or are you patiently awaiting a new one? Let me know in those comments down below. This is Dan with MacRumors. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you around in the next video.